Good morning, guys. I'm hoping I don't run out of camera here. I wanted to make a fun video today. I wanted to talk about all the times, well, not all, right? Because there are thousands of times that I've connected with people on an intuitive psychic level and helped them in some way over the years, right? Over the last decade that I've been awake or aware of my gifts, right? But I wanted to share some stories with you guys, some fun stories of times that I've channeled for people while I was working. So I have a list here of just ones that I could remember. So the first one was, let's see, I know I wrote down a recent one. I was at my friend Tessa's house the other day, and her uncle, I never knew this. My friend Tessa just moved back to Arizona, and as soon as I walked into their brand new house, this male was with me, and all he wanted me to tell them was, I knew I was going to die the day I died. I knew it was coming. I was ready for it, and I'm totally fine with it. And he had sort of like a very like surfer dude vibe to him. And when I told Tessa that, because I was getting a mail and I was getting a name the whole way I was over there, and I was having connection with her grandmother's side as well, or her grandmother's ex-husband, I should say. I was sensing on the way over there, but this was different. This was her grandmother's son that I was channeling. Apparently he was a professional hiker. I'll insert a photo of him here. He's one of the first people to free solo El Cap, I think, other than Alex Honnold, if I'm not mistaken. I'm probably mistaken. I haven't properly looked this guy up, but his energy was so strong, and he came through and he had some messages the other day. Another story I have for you guys is one of my first shifts at Old Sedona. As soon as this family sat down, I had a young man with me, and he would not get out of my head. As I'm walking around the restaurant doing what I have to do, serving different tables, he wouldn't stop talking to me. And so at the end of the meal, I asked my guides if it was okay if I asked the family if they were open to hearing what I had to say, and I got the green light. And I turned to who I found out was the mom, and I said, are you open to receiving messages from the other side? And her face kind of looked at me in shock, and she goes, why do you ask me that? Yes, I am. And I said, because I have a male with me since you guys sat down, and he's been telling me that he's really sorry for what happened and not to feel guilty. He's showing me that you guys didn't get along. Talking about it now brings me back to it. I gave the messages that he was giving me because he wouldn't get out of my head the whole time, right? I was trying to work and I couldn't work until I gave the messages. And she broke down in tears, and the whole table basically started crying because it was his sister and the sister's new husband and the mom and the new boyfriend. And her son had recently gotten in a motorcycle accident, like very recently, I believe within the last 6 months of them being there. So that was him, or that was that time. Another crazy story was meeting this guy while I was working. And he asked me out, and we went back to the bar where I was working for our date. And on our date, as soon as we sat down, I'm remembering it now, that's why I kind of paused for a second. As soon as we sat down, there was a girl screaming in my head, that's my man, that's my man, that's my boyfriend, that's my boyfriend. You have to tell my boyfriend I'm here. It felt like this, energetically, right? Just like really intense, really angry energy, really aggressive energy, right? So finally I turned to him and I go, I know I haven't told you kind of what I do or how I ended up in Sedona, but I have this girl here with me, and she's very, very upset about what happened to her, and she needs you to know that she's here. And all the color drained out of his face, and he looked like he was going to vomit. And I believe her name started with a V. I'm seeing it again, the V. God, what was her name? Vanessa or something. This was like 8 years ago. And he looked at me and he goes, my ex went missing and we found out was violently murdered. And he just like started crying and opening up to me about what had happened. And for the very first time in my experience seeing and communicating with spirit, my guides were telling me that I could help her cross over if she was open to that. So fast forward 2.5, 3 hours later, we're at my house. I have multiple witnesses around Sedona that are still in Sedona that experienced this happening. Me coming home with this guy and channeling his ex and trying to get her to cross over. Her energy kept coming forward. She would let me in a little bit and let me closer, and then she would lash out again and get angry as I was seeing more of what happened. Like I could see she was dragged. I can see the ditch that they found her in. I can see the pickup truck that brought her there. I could see a lot of stuff, and she's not happy about what happened to her. And so, yeah, like that was another experience that I had. That was the very first time I was ever told I could cross a soul over. And she was not having it, unfortunately. But yeah, that happened. What else do we have on here? Oh, I met a lady at my last job before COVID. As soon as she sat down on the patio, I just felt sadness from her. And when I tapped in, I got a father energy, and her dad kept saying she needs her sister to help her. And she needs her sister and her brother to help her. And so we got to talking. She was the only one sitting on the patio, and she shared with me. I said, I need you to know, before she shared with me anything, why she was in town. She just said she was in town. She was dealing with family stuff. And I said, I want you to know I have your dad here with me, and he's saying that he needs you to communicate X, Y, and Z to your brother and sister, and that he wishes you guys were communicating better. And she started crying, and she explained that she was there because her dad just died and they had to clean out his house, and she wasn't getting any support from her siblings. And so things like this happen to us all the time, right? I thought I would share a couple of my stories because this happens every single day, guys. So it's our job to like be that connection for people. Give the messages you're guided to give when you sense things and when spirit comes in. Always, of course, be aware of what you're channeling and what's coming in, and of course have all of that dialed in before you do any of this work. But there are so many people being activated to these kinds of gifts, guys. I am not the only one. There's so many of you that know exactly what I speak of when I talk about these things. So I just wanted to share a couple of my stories. I'm just trying to make sure there's nothing gnarly on here that I forgot. Recently at work, there was a guy, his dad was standing behind him the whole time, and I'm not allowed to give messages unless I'm asked, right? It's kind of a karmic contract thing. I can't just run over to people, and you always have to ask permission on a soul level. And then once I get a green light to approach anybody, I ask the person, like, are you open to, receiving? Or when people a lot of times at work ask me how I got out here, I break it down real quick, getting activated in Jersey, leaving my fashion career, leaving New York and coming out here, leaving everything basically 10 years ago almost. And so then people will say, well, do you see anything around me? And that kind of gives me the green light to go ahead and read them, right? So the other day, this guy, his dad was showing me a photo of him in a red shirt with like black trim around the collar. And the guy was like, oh my God, that's my dad, right? That's my dad. And I'm like, yeah, he's showing me this photo. And so pay attention to the things happening, guys. The connections are getting stronger every day as these frequencies get more intense. So I love you. Be awake, be aware, be present in the moment, and try to spread as much joy and laughter and happiness as you possibly can. Really, that's all we have to do right now. Anchor as much light as you can and spread happiness and joy and make people's day better than how you found them, right? I love you. I will see you guys very soon. Happy Saturday. Ciao for now.